Well, good morning. It's the Great White Stoke coming at you from the Great White North with another submission for the Caveman Fire Circle. So, in the tail end of August, I left Alaska and drove the Alcan essentially all the way down to California, and through that experience I got to see what Canada, the Yukon was like, but let's just call it Greater Canada. I got to see what Canada was like, and when I first was planning my trip, everyone was telling me, oh, you gotta go to Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons is the best place to go. And I took it with a grain of salt. Okay, I had never driven the Alcan. I've never been to Canada. All I knew was that I wanted to be sure that I had no weapons on me, no errant ammunition just hanging out in the truck, because I heard that the border guards are just really, really uptight. So I left the peninsula, drove all the way to, I believe, Tok, or maybe one of the little hamlets past Tok. And I got there and I realized that, oh, the border's not too far from there. And I had both boys with me. So we pushed through and we got to the border. Now, I'm thinking that, like America, they're going to have like bona fide rest stops or some type of truck stop along the way. You cross that border up at the end of Alaska, getting into the Yukon, you have the border, and then you have this tiny little town, maybe a few miles down the road, and nothing is open. These towns shut down. Of course, it was the tail end of tourist season, but whatever. And the truck that I was driving was a 2007 Nissan Frontier with 450,000 miles on the original engine, original transmission, and would you believe it, the original spark plugs. I've never corked it. All I've done was fed it a steady diet of premium fuel and oil and flush the radiator and the transmission. Now you get out on that Alcan and it's a quarter tank of gas between each little stop, and each little stop has a little country store there with a gas pump, and you never pay at the pumps. They have these little stations where you have to guesstimate, right? Do you want 50 Canadian dollars of gas, 75 Canadian dollars of gas, or 100 Canadian dollars of gas? So that's kind of weird. You just can't slide your card and fill up. But other than that, you're on your own. I'm going to upload some footage while I'm talking so you can see for yourself. But there is so little human, interaction up there on this Alcan. The bears don't even get out of the way or run away scared when you pull up to them. Up here in Alaska, the bears know better. They see you coming on the road, they cut out into the woods. So that was the first thing. Finally made it to a town called Smithers or Smithy, and they had like a bona fide concrete bowl skate park. So we stopped there for a few hours and decided to get some lunch. And Tim Hortons is overrated. It's just a glorified donut shop. The donuts aren't that great, and then they sell some sandwiches on the side and grilled paninis. No, the real star of the show in the Yukon is, you wouldn't believe this, A&W root beer. A&W root beer in the Yukon is serving grass-fed beef burgers and organic fair trade coffee. Talk about a winning combination. Anyway, along with being in the Yukon and obviously making it to Whitehorse and dealing with the faggotry there and the soft-bellied men who are more than willing to send other people's children to die for Ukraine, and I bet they're wagging their tongues at the possibility of sending somebody else's children to go fight for Israel. What I found is that it is woefully bereft of internet signal. Now, granted, I wouldn't assume that they're going to have, American cellular services there, but in America, I mean, Wi-Fi is fairly ubiquitous and free. You just show up somewhere and you can patch in. The only people that had free Wi-Fi there were the McDonald's. And the McDonald's in Canada are classy. Man, they got bigger breakfast sandwiches, like with twice the meat. Meanwhile, in America, they're just shoving carbs down your throat and maybe giving you like a little hamburger or a little sausage patty. But because I didn't have cell phone service, because Wi-Fi was just so non-existent there, I went for a solid week without being able to access current events and the news, if you will. And then by the time I got down to California, where there was good cell reception and the data was strong, I was able to get online and just view the news. And it hit me that the news as we know it is not really news. It's all editorials, op-ed pieces that are being masqueraded as news. You're not getting just a factual report of anything. You're getting some tidbits, and then the writer, the journalist, is making the jump to conclusions for you, putting their own spin and narrative on it. And what really stood out was that all of this news was not designed to inform you of what's going on. Rather, it was just there to play on your emotion and, more often than not, either stress you out or put you in a state of fear, which is what the system wants. The system wants you stressed, unhealthy, in a state of fear and confusion, so that you will look to them as the authority of what to do. Case in point, the Hong Kong flu. Case in point, racism is bad and anti-themism is bad and closed borders is bad. You're bad, 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 bad if you don't go along with our narrative. And that's when I really figured out that staying away from the news is probably the healthiest thing you can do, because it's not bringing you anything of value. Once you know what the name of the game is, you don't need to have some nuanced view of what's going on. And I've talked about this earlier. The system doesn't really care if you like it or love it. The system just cares that you're looking at it, paying attention, and interfacing with it. What the system doesn't want is you turning away from it, rejecting it whole, and coming up with your own hypothesis, observations, and perceptions. Because the system is engaging in narcissistic abuse, as are a lot of other people. And some of the people that we've interfaced with here on YouTube are pros at narcissistic abuse. They love it. They love engaging in narcissistic abuse, getting the supply, having the cadre of people or the cadre of people around them that are too soft-bellied or weak-willed to tell these dirtbags, go screw yourself, you're not as great as you think you are. And that's what the system doesn't want. The system doesn't really want you just stepping away from it and focusing on your own life, your own well-being, and saying, F you. And because of who is overrepresented in the halls of power, justice, finance, the film and media industry, and likewise the news industry, they want to engage you in a grand Hegelian dialectic. And what they don't want is you to say, who cares what you have to say, go F yourself. Get in that oven. Because then they can't work their word magic. And that's essentially what they want to do. They want to work their word magic on you so that you will be tranquilized by their words. You'll be satiated by them finally telling you that, well, that's an okay position after they've argued with you and just, verbally and emotionally and psychologically drained you, because you're expected to see their viewpoint as valid. And it's not. So anyway, what do you think? How much news are you digesting? Are you turning away from the media and really focusing on yourself? Good for you, Grand Poobah of Truth, Southern Paladin, getting your health in order. But just remember, your health insurance doesn't want you healthy. Your doctor could care less if you're healthy. I would be curious what your doctor eats on a normal basis. I used to work in the medical field. My God, they've got land whales in there masquerading as health professionals, i.e. nurses, who will tell you that you need to get dosed to be safe. I mean, you've got these morbidly obese fatties trundling the halls, empowered by a degree and a nursing certification. I think they know it all. And that was another reason that pointed me out that going to a hospital is just a bad idea. Check out Dr. Barry. He's a good guy. He knows what's up, because at this point in my life, unless you're verifiably better looking than me, in better shape, better educated, and more well off financially and better than me in certain abilities, I'm just not going to advocate or really take you seriously. Now, I might entertain what you have to say, but frankly, it's time to start putting the best in front of us as someone to, really consider. What do you think? Let me know, you fellow cavemen, and do yourselves a favor. Try to find some raw milk. It will heal you. Later.